Warm greetings, Lausanne. I'm truly sorry that I have not been able to join you in person today. My absence in no way reflects my pride at having been honoured with a Doctor Honoris Causa by the Business School, Lausanne. Thank you to Dr. Philip Dupasquier for the very kind words, and indeed to Ambassador Breffney O'Reilly for stepping in for me. I understand that graduations are a momentous occasion, not just for the institution and graduates, but for the families of the graduates. I often reflect on the sense of achievement that fills a room such as yours today. Everyone who lectured and everyone who receives a diploma is proud. Everyone who supports a graduate is proud. There's a shared sense of pride, a sort of solidarity in the achievement of success, and congratulations, warm congratulations to you all. Now, if you'll permit me, I'll take just a few minutes to lecture you, because I believe that with such great achievement comes a responsibility. You business and finance graduates carry a great weight of responsibility for the future of humanity. The decisions you'll make in your professional lives will impact on people all around the world. As you know, I founded the Mary Robinson Foundation Climate Justice in 2010 because I had realized the impact that climate change is having on people. Climate justice links human rights and development to achieve a human-centered approach, safeguarding the rights of the most vulnerable and sharing the burdens and benefits of climate change and its resolution equitably and fairly. The work of the Foundation is informed by 7 core principles, some of which are echoed in the values of the new BSL platform for business and human rights. Our first principle is respect and protect human rights. Another is to use effective partnerships. And another is to harness the transformative power of education for climate stewardship. I warmly welcome the establishment of the BSL platform for business and human rights, with its emphasis on relevant international standards, such as the UN Guiding Principles on Business and Human Rights. The consensus achieved by the Human Rights Council in 2011 through the unanimous endorsement of the UN Guiding Principles and their widespread and rapid uptake by diverse stakeholder groups has been pivotal in moving the business and human rights agenda from the margins of international policy debates. I know from my own 5 years as High Commissioner and later as chair of the Business Leaders Initiative on Human Rights, and then as founding chair and now patron of the Institute for Human Rights and Business, how deeply divided all stakeholders were just a decade ago. None of us should underestimate how difficult the challenge was of moving this agenda forward onto higher ground. We should continue to acknowledge the importance of the guiding principles in establishing the foundations needed to ensure that all states carry out their duty to protect, that all businesses implement their independent responsibility to respect all rights, and that those negatively impacted have access to effective remedies. But we must also recognize that human rights abuses linked to business activity remain all too common. The work of building national, regional, and international systems to ensure effective implementation has only begun. My efforts over recent years to address the links between climate change and human rights face a similar challenge. We've made the case for climate justice, and people are increasingly responding, but commitment to concrete action is far too slow. In the context of the private sector, there's still an urgent need to demonstrate that acting on climate change is not a constraint, but an opportunity, and makes good business sense. The same is true for making faster progress on the broad human rights agenda as well. It's now recognized that climate change has an adverse impact on human rights. So action by business to avoid infringing on these rights fits within this approach. As increasing numbers of businesses around the world embrace and implement the UN Guiding Principles, it's a logical next step to use them to address the impacts of climate change and promote more sustainable development. While attributing responsibility to a particular state or business is not yet possible scientifically, an acceptance that all fossil fuels are contributing to the problem should be enough to engage business in respecting the human rights of those whose lives, livelihoods, and cultures are at risk, and taking measures to protect them. Whenever I attend an event on the new climate agreement or the post-2015 development agenda, someone at some point is likely to say, "We must move away from business as usual." This phrase has become the tagline for sustainable development. Sometimes I wonder, do we know what we mean when we say it? The challenge facing the global community in 2015 is clear. We must stabilize the global climate. We must end poverty and create a world where all people can live healthy, prosperous, and sustainable lives underpinned by dignity. To me, business as usual is not simply about fossil fuel-based development. It's about a world marked by stark levels of inequality, a world where almost half the world's population, nearly 3 billion women and men and children, live without basic access to energy or clean cooking facilities. In moving away from business as usual, we have an opportunity to eradicate extreme poverty, ensure access to clean energy, and achieve equitable access to sustainable development. But a departure from business as usual is not just adding a bit of green investment to finance portfolios or ensuring business reduce their own carbon footprint. It's about finding innovative ways to ensure that the necessary finance and support flows to help developing countries achieve low-carbon, climate-resilient pathways to prosperity. The reason for this is clear. Without the necessary support, many developing countries will turn to fossil fuels as the only affordable option available to them after all. The overriding priority for developing countries is development, and development requires energy. If investment and support doesn't flow, we risk creating a two-tier world, characterized by affordable, sustainable, and clean energy on one side, and expensive, carbon-based, and dirty energy on the other. This will inevitably lead to greater inequality, deplete the remaining carbon budget, and render the transition ineffective. Before I conclude, let me say something about the importance of a people-centered approach to a transition to zero carbon. Decisions on how best to address climate change have a human face too, and climate justice demands that we consider the impacts of climate change and responses to climate change on people, their rights, and their livelihoods. The wealth being created globally through largely fossil fuel-based development is concentrated in the hands of a few, and those who are vulnerable, excluded, and politically disempowered are getting poorer. Oxfam's most recent statistics on global inequality are shocking. By 2016, the richest 1% of the population will own more than all the rest. If measures are not taken to ensure that the transition to zero carbon is more equitable and more inclusive than business as usual, it will have failed even before it begins. So this is the responsibility you carry. I challenge each of you, individually and collectively, to foster a generation of business people that kickstarts a new way of doing business that is fair, upholds human rights, builds resilience in all societies, and includes all people in the transition to low-carbon development. It will make all the difference, and I really wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much.